Shalom. All praises to the Most High. Anoka said, praise be to the earthly mother, the Pachamama, and all of her earthly angels, the Erkadeshoe. Praise be to the Holy Spirit, the Kahe, in the name of his only begotten Son, Motsah the Lamb, unification to the nation. So we're going to do another part of the series that I'm doing on the lost tribes of Sinim or Asia. Now, we're going to start here because I found this to be interesting. And of course, he gives his opinion, but he can tell that there's just a lot of connections between the so-called Hebrews and Tibet. But the thing is that he doesn't realize that Tibet is much older than his land of Israel, his colony of Israel, that was made at a very recent time, during the time of King David, or maybe before then with the Phoenicians. But I do know that the Israelite presence there only arrived around about the time of King David. So we're going to watch this video. It's very short.
Tibetan people could very well be the lost tribe of Israel, just because of certain similarities in the way they do the things that I saw them do, giving us prayer shawl taluses in Hebrew and Jewish religion. It's a talus. When I hear the prayers that are being recited, it sounds almost like Hebrew to me. I know it's not, but it sounds like that. And when I watch people praying, they're davening, just like they do at the wall. I can see them doing this motion. It's like watching yeshiva bookers. It's like watching kids that are studying to be bar mitzvah or something in a yeshiva school, where they're really trying to understand the nature of God. And so they have these fantastic arguments that are very heated, but always it's about God and what God's work is. According to history, there were 12 tribes of Israel, and I think only 11 finally showed up. One got lost. I'm not sure which one, but there was a lost tribe. Who knows where they went? And who knows what the original Judaism was like, and maybe more like what...
What did you say? Who knows what the original Judaism was like? And look how the Tibetans look. They look very peculiar. And peculiar, I mean like familiar.
What the Tibetans are doing. Similarities always resonate with me. When I find them, I begin to see how much of a family we really are.
If you say so, but anyway, we're going to move on. I wanted to get to this picture. This is a depiction of Genghis Khan. Surprising, right? Genghis Khan, looking like a so-called black man or melanated man, whatever you want to say. This is how he looked. Now, I think a brother, he just showed me or told me that in a book they said that, Genghis Khan was pale with red hair. Very conflicting accounts. I've seen different accounts. Some say that he was black. Some say he was pale with red hair. I don't know. Right? I wouldn't be able to know, but the fact that they depicted him as that, you could write words if you want, but they really went through a whole process of drawing a picture of him looking like this. I found that to be very odd. And in Russia, they've told the truth about who they think some people actually look like. Same way how in Asia, they showed the truth about what Columbus looked like. So I'm not saying I'm right or you're right, or I'm wrong or you're wrong. I'm just saying that this I found to be very interesting, because there's been interactions with the Davidic line and Prester John, what have you, and Genghis Khan. There's a connection there. And it really does make me believe that this could be representing the northern kingdom of Israel, for all I know. I don't know. I don't know. Now, I wanted to get into some pictures, get into this article, because it was a very interesting article. Let me scroll down. So this is a girl from Lao Kai. Look at her. Looks very, very interesting, right? Speaking of interesting subjects, the young girl in this photograph taken by French photographer René Titard was by far one of the most interesting to ever pass before this writer's eyes. The photo was taken in Lao Kai, an old town located in the Tonkin, formerly Tongking, region of mountainous northern Vietnam on the border of China's Yunnan province. Several centuries ago, under the Tang dynasty, Tonkin was part of what made up the southernmost province of the Chinese Empire, which was then called Annam, Chinese for pacified south. Scrolling down, this is more people from the Yunnan province, and what we went over is that there's a Hebraic connection to that area, to both Yunnan and Tibet, possibly Southeast Asia as well. At least I believe so. And if they don't, and not all these people have to be Israel, but these are in part like a mixture of Shem and Ham, I believe. Because when you go into DNA, it seems as if the people of Shem are actually from the haplogroup E as well. No, people want to say that they're all from this haplogroup E. No. No. And that's why you can't use DNA to figure out who's the children of Israel. You could use it to say something, but you can't use it to literally figure out who's who. Like, that's kind of, it's kind of bizarre, honestly. And it's always going to lead you on to some other path. But anyway, let's scroll down. Some kids, two girls at Pai Ning Ting. I'm sorry if I butchered that. You can see how they look. I'm just trying to give you a sense of how the original peoples looked. A mother with two children. Some of us look like this, right? Even the so-called Black Americans, some of us look like this. They don't look exactly like this, but they look somewhat like this. And this is honestly, actually, no. Actually, let me not say that. Smiling boy in tattered rags. You can see how he looks. Like, these people are going through hell, man. Look how dark these people are. Are these Israelites? I don't know. But these are the original peoples of the world. Now, this was a very good picture. Very good picture. A contrast of Chinese ethnic types. You can see the two types. The more European looking type, right? The Euro-Asian, whatever, I don't even know what you call this. And the original looking type. This is more how the original Asians looked. These are the people who invaded them. It's the same thing with the Yayoi and the Jomin. If you don't know, remember, let me say it again. Yayoi versus Jomin. There's a difference between the Yayoi phenotype and the Jomin phenotype. And they want to say that the Jomin were white people. No, they were lighter skinned, but honestly, they were brown. They were actually copper colored, believe it or not. They were brown. These people invaded these people. Right? These people invaded these people. They were not white. They weren't, black Africans. No, they weren't black Africans either. But they weren't white. And when you look at the DNA, they're actually Pacific. They're actually Australoid. So they are Pacific Island so-called black people. That's who they are. Those are the original peoples of these lands. That's what I mean. Well, some of these lands, I should say, not all of them. Some of them. So yes, you see the contrast here. Very, very cool. Now let's read this. In this attempt to educate on the former presence of black Chinese types in pre-modern China, it seems logical to contrast these women photographed by John Thompson. The woman on the right is a representative of the Han ethnic group, today the majority population in China. So this woman right here is the Han ethnic group. Excuse me. The young Fu Chao field woman on the left represents one of the Aboriginal peoples then living in Fujian, I'm sorry, province. The nurses at Fu Cao's Maga Memorial suggest a similar type. Anthropological science, by the way, suggests that some of China's Aboriginal folk are distant relatives of the Malaysian, literally Black Islander, people that today populate the islands of the South Pacific thousands of years ago. So what did they just say? Who are these people? Who are these people? They come from the Pacifics. All the original people actually come from the Pacifics. As I've been saying, at least the Shemites come from the Pacifics. The Shemites are so-called melanated Asians. That's who they are. They don't all look like this. Some of them look different. Some of them have bigger noses, different hair textures, lighter or darker skin, but they kind of have a similar look to them. Thousands of years ago, before branching out into the southern islands, the ancestors of the Melanesians made their home on the Asian mainland. Dark-skinned and vicious. In his 1902 book, The Boxer Uprising, American photographer James Ricalton includes this photo of several dozen men, many of them likely to be executed the next day for their part in the Boxer Rebellion. The latter was a bloody anti-foreign, anti-Christian uprising that took place between 1899 and 1901. The 2006 Jet Li film Fearless was inspired by events that took place in the aftermath of the rebellion. The same is also true of the 1971 Bruce Lee film Fists of Fury. So, and we're not really going to get too deep into the Boxer Rebellion because I still have to read up on it. But it seems really like it was almost like a war between the Aboriginal peoples and the invading white people and their mulatto children. This is truly a dusty and unattractive brood. One would scarcely expect to find natives of Borneo or the Fuji Islands more barbarous in appearance, and it is well known that a great proportion of the Boxer organization is of this sort. Indeed, how dark-skinned, how ill-clad, how lacking in intelligence, how dull, morose, miserable, and vicious they appear. You see what this is about? You see why I have to talk about skin color? I have to. This is the war. It's melanin versus mayonnaise. That's just what it is. I don't know what else to tell you. If not for the varying types in the previous photo and all of the preceding, it might be difficult to know what to make of this odd-looking family dining in the rubble of the Boxer Rebellion. Their home destroyed, they sit together chowing, as happily described by Ricalton, pointing out that they are a family of the lower class, like the majority of Chinese then, The author expresses amazement at how they sit in the hottest midsummer sun, and, like all others among the lowly whom we have been studying, they are without head cover. So, hey, I don't know who these people are. I'm not making no claims. But there's something going on here. I don't think those people now are the people who are the original people of China. Now, they're mixed in with them. That's why I reach my hand to every person and I say, stop, like, don't identify with your current so-called race. Not even black people, because we're mixed up with a bunch of Moabites, Canaanites, Edomites, and whoever came and raped us. So I just call out to everyone. And whoever, understands will understand. This is a Chinese person. Like, what? Really? Unbelievable. This is how some of them look. Can look literally just like us. So, the Northern Kingdom, if some of their lands are in China, and people came here from China, because there's a lot of connections between China and so-called Native Americans. Excuse me. So what were the type of people who came here? Just a question. I was going to get into this article, like the Aboriginal people or the first peoples of Southeast Asia. I'm just going to show you how they look. This is kind of the look. You can see this look all over the Americas as well. This is the Negrito look. This is what I've been trying to tell people. This is how Shem looked. They were not black Africans. They were black Asians. Pretty much. This is how the original Shemites looked. You could look at now. Okay, of course, not all of them. But this woman, of course. This woman, not so much. But, hey, my point is that we are a certain sect of a certain group of people. Right? Not all of us are going to look like these people, but, we seem to be related to them. Moving on. 19th century photos of mandarins, because a lot they still kind of looked like their original selves for a good amount of time, until they fully just got pillaged and they just had to mix in. Look at how they looked. They don't look how they look like today. Bro. Oh my goodness, this looks like, I can't even remember. He looks like something, man. Or someone that is very familiar. Look at these people, man. These are the Chinese. These are the Chinese. Let's see, do I want to cover anything here? Yeah, I was just going a little bit over the Ainu again. Hey, this is how they looked. But look at their phenotype. Their phenotype, you can almost say that they look Middle Eastern. This is kind of how my dad looks, I'm not going to lie to you. He's real hairy too. This is how they depicted them. Now this is interesting. Picture from the book The Ainu of Japan, and if you've seen the video I did on Japan, I use this picture as well. This picture, along with drawings from the 1800s, confirms that even only somewhat pure Ainu were dark-skinned Negroids, and they were Negritos, not Negroids, with thick, bushy hair. Quite different from the modern Ainu Yayoi Japanese mulatto. And as I said, who were the Yayoi and the Ainu? I mean, the Yayoi and the Jomin? These two groups of people, and their mixtures are the modern day Japanese. Note, this man's disheveled condition suggests emotional difficulty. Well, yes, they've had it very rough, man. That's why I keep talking about them, because I'm just like, bro, when you really look at their history, it's crazy. Skipping down, let me see if I wanted to go over anything else. Yeah, all these old depictions of them are dark skinned. With them as as like the royals or the people who are in charge or what have you. And the lighter skinned people were almost like subservient. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying because it's literally in the picture. You saw the same thing in Mesoamerica. You saw it everywhere. And there's been a lot of intermixing, of course. So I'm not saying that anyone who looks a certain way now means no. I'm not saying that, but I'm just showing you what it is, pretty much. Using the modern day Japanese, most of them are pretty yayoi. Like there's not much Jomin, but of course that doesn't mean all of them. You can look totally non-Jomin and still be a descendant of them. Let's see, is there anything else I wanted to go over? The Huns. They said this is a Hun? Oh, they are bugging out, bro. No, this is more like a Hun. What the hell is this? These people are crazy, man. They just love writing their own stuff in everyone else's history. Kublai Khan was the fifth great Khan of the Mongol Empire from 1260 to 1294 and the founder of the Yuan dynasty as the second son of Toluai. Alright, I'm not going to read these names. And a grandson of Genghis Khan. So how is Genghis Khan white and his grandson look like this? What? Now he could. I don't know. But it's just odd, right? He could, but that's just odd. But anyway, by the time of Kublai Khan, the racial makeup of modern China was well on the way. From the partial scroll on the right above, we could see that the Kublai Khan's wife was very pale. So that was his wife. And this was his black ass. And from the full view of the scroll on the left above, we can see that of the 8 representatives of the various tribes, only 2 are pure black men. Then we go to Tibet. People, they keep using Negroid. That's not the right term to use. So these are how some of the Tibetans look familiar. All these people are going to look familiar because we are literally an amalgamation of all these people. The people of North America are an amalgamation of the Northern and the Southern Kingdom. People of the Americas, really, because the Most High kind of brought us all here. So if you see people who look similar, you see people in South America who kind of look like this, and Central America kind of look like this. Some people in North America kind of look like this. This as well. People in the West Indies kind of look like this. He kind of looks like my uncle, I'm not gonna lie. And it's Genghis Khan, as I showed you. And, the Russians, this is how they painted the saints. All very dark-skinned, not necessarily very dark-skinned, but brown-skinned men, I should say that. Not Indo-Europeans. Moving on. Some old pictures. That's crazy. Like, they sitting here and they know they're about to die tomorrow. But look at how they look, bro. That's wild. I don't know who these people are, but the fact that they had an uprising and they were clinging to some sort of racial identity. No one is doing that other than the Israelites. No one's really doing that other than them. Everyone else is like, well, whatever. But we want our identity. We're all about identity, identity, identity. There's just more pictures. This image can be found in the Asian Museum, San Francisco. And of course, they put African and everything. And some of them could be African, obviously. But I don't know. I don't know who's who. My point is that they didn't look how they look now. Right? There's been some sort of something that occurred. This is a paler skinned person taking orders from this darker person who even has a whole afro. Like, it's like that. The Chinese Ming Dynasty. Black Buddhists. Yes. And all these little, what do you think these are? These knots. What do you think these are? My sister said that they said that a bunch of snails died on the head and formed these things, these curls on the head. I don't even know what to say. The stupidity might just rub off on me. So I had to just change the subject. Conquest of the Black Shang. Like the other peoples of the Great Eurasian Plains, the presumed White Zhao were a nomadic tribe. They lived to the west of the Shang Kingdom. Due to their nomadic ways, they learned how to work with people of different races and cultures. After a time, they settled in the Wei River Valley, where they became vassals of the Shang. The Zhao eventually became stronger than the Shang, and in about 1040 BC, they defeated the Shang in war. Part of their success apparently came about because of their ability to gain the allegiance of disaffected Shang city-states. The Shang had also been weakened by constant warfare with an unknown people to the north. After their victory, the Zhao built their capital in Xi'an. So there's been various invasions by different Europeans and things of that sort. I'm not going to read all this. It's just too much. Now, this was a very interesting thing, and I'm not going to bore you with all the haplogroup DNA talk. But if I could sum this up, whoa, I gotta sneeze. I hate when that happens. Wait. All right. So, pretty much what they have discovered, or what they've gone over in this article, is that the haplogroup D is very related. There was some sort of split that occurred with the haplogroup D and the haplogroup E. However, they don't know how to connect it to the haplogroup E, which is mostly found in Africa. But they don't know how to connect it, right? They don't know how to connect it because there is no trace of haplogroup D in Africa, which is, it would be impossible for you to be related to a group of people and there's no trace of it. Now, there's traces of it in the Americas, right? There's traces of haplogroup D in the Americas, but outside of the Americas, it's in Tibet, Japan, and the Andaman Islands. And there's an Israelite connection with the Tibetans, with the Japanese. Now, I don't know who the Andaman Islands are, or the islanders, but I presume that they are Shemites. That's just what it seems like. And again, I don't say, well, that means that all these people are related. They don't have to be necessarily from the same father. I don't care what the people say regarding Y-DNA. I don't care what they say. I doubt that they have the ability to be able to read that. But either way, my point is that they're saying that these people are related to these people, at least paternally, meaning they're by forefathers. They're related to these people. They're related to so-called Native Americans. But they're also related, like they share a common forefather with the haplogroup E, the so-called African. So who are these people? Yeah, I'm not gonna get into this. I was going to. I'm like, I don't want to. I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's about it. I was gonna touch on kind of Shambhala, but I think I'm gonna save that for another video because this is a really big thing to dig into, and I just got this book, so nah, I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save it. So that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. Until next time, peace be unto you. Selah Kala.